Okay, sorry for the delay, folks. So the new firmware, there's a new tab at the top of the router user interface. I don't think that's happened since the Max product line came out. So kind of a dramatic shift for your eyeballs if you're used to looking at our router interface, but there's a lot of great stuff here. So the first thing we can do, if we look at which locations we want to choose, you can select them here. And so I'm just going to clear these out and kind of start over. So when you first enable SpeedFusion Cloud, when you first register that license, that's what's going to expose this tab here. So if you haven't done that, check our forum out. There's a registration process so you can get the demo set up. But once you've done that, this tab is going to show up. And right away, you can just choose which location. By default, you can just choose automatic. It works great. It's going to choose the closest location to you based on latency. But you can also just manually select which locations you want to connect to. So I'm just going to choose, you can choose up to 3 of them. I'm going to choose just a few of them here. I'm going to say Japan, New York, and let's go to London as well. Okay, so if I click Apply Changes, the router is going to automatically start establishing connections to all 3 of those cloud locations. Another really cool thing you can do, though, is you can modify these just like you would a normal SpeedFusion profile. So you can create all kinds of different tunnel profiles that are then going to be mirrored on the other side of the SpeedFusion Cloud, so that you get all the performance benefits that you want from each mode. So let's say the default tunnel will make hot failover. And so I'm going to make my broadband the highest priority. And then I've got 3 cellular interfaces that we can fail over to. Now, if you're not very familiar with the connection priority down here, I'll explain how this works. If you're choosing links in a certain priority and then you have a link in another priority, the tunnel's only going to actively use whatever links are in the highest priority. If you have more than one link in a priority group, that means you're basically bonding those links together. So in this case, we are using just the broadband if that's available, and if that fails, then we're going to fail over to a bonded cellular connection. And so you're actually combining hot failover and bonding in this profile. Now, you can also do things like WAN smoothing with SpeedFusion Cloud. So we're going to put that at normal. So normal, if you're not sure about WAN smoothing, you can read the tooltip here. Basically, it's a packet redundancy protocol so that you can lower your average latency for latency-sensitive applications like voice over IP, and you can basically eliminate packet loss. As long as you've got a couple links in play, you can duplicate your traffic so that you're always getting the best performance on every single packet, and you're going to get completely seamless failover if one of those links drops. You're not even going to hear audio drop for a second. You can also do forward error correction with SpeedFusion Cloud now. So forward error correction is somewhat similar to WAN smoothing, but it's different in another way. It's a lot more efficient. So your overhead is going to be a lot lower. Instead of duplicating your packets, you're only generating either 13 or 26% overhead. So you're sending some parity bits to kind of help you reassemble packets if there's packet loss. Forward error correction is usually great for video streaming. It's not as ideal for audio streaming. Audio is a lot more sensitive to latency. Usually video streams, even live ones, have a little bit of buffering in them. And so forward error correction needs just a small amount of time, just, we're talking milliseconds to reassemble those packets. So again, forward error correction, usually great for video. WAN smoothing, usually more ideal for real-time voice. But again, with SpeedFusion Cloud, you can now utilize these technologies. And again, these settings are mirrored on the other side. So you've got really easy setup of these. Some other cool things you can do is you can connect specific devices to the cloud. So you can still use the outbound policies to steer traffic to the cloud, and we'll show you how that works in a second, but you can also just pick individual clients and choose where you want them to go. So I could send this AP1 over to Japan if I wanted. So you can it'll automatically populate your client list, so you can pick and choose clients and basically enforce them to tunnel all their traffic to whichever SpeedFusion Cloud node you want. So if you've got a reason to pop up in Japan, you can just choose your iPhone or laptop or whatever device and have all of that device's traffic tunneled to whichever node you choose. Now, if it's a Wi-Fi enabled product, you can also do the same strategy with the Wi-Fi networks. I'll pull that up in a little bit here on a different model so you can see that, but you can create custom SSIDs that are then tunneled to whichever SpeedFusion Cloud node you want, so that every device on that particular SSID is going to get tunneled. So lots of nice, easy, quick ways to get devices connected to the SpeedFusion Cloud, but again, you can also just use your outbound policies to do the same thing that you're used to doing with normal SpeedFusion tunnels. I want to point out too, we've got our deep packet inspection application steering feature that's been out, I think, since Firmware 8.0.0. But you need to enable expert mode to expose this capability. Expert mode's already turned on this router, but if it's not on yours, you just open this tooltip here, and you'll be able to see the expert mode link to enable that. Once you do that, what you're able to do is you're able to use our deep packet inspection technology to steer specific applications to different tunnel profiles. So if I say the destination is SpeedFusion Cloud, I can say New York City, and then I can choose application. And so, like I said, the DPI signatures have expanded greatly in this firmware. And so if we look under voice over IP, you can see there's several things. So it's not just voice over IP, it's also like WebEx and Zoom, Skype. So it's a voice over IP and whatever web content sharing platforms you guys are using as well. So if we just choose that, then I can say I want to send that to my WAN smoothing profile so that I can guarantee that those streams don't get interrupted and we don't have a bad experience on a webinar or something like that. So that's how you can use those multiple tunnel profiles that you create in the SpeedFusion Cloud. The other thing that I want to point out is these application rules are going to assume that you're already sending traffic to that tunnel, and then you're further steering it to the right tunnel profile that you created. So next I'll show you the new SpeedFusion graphs. So if you look at the SpeedFusion status page, you're going to see a normal tunnel that I've got here, and then we've got several tunnels and sub-tunnels connected to the SpeedFusion Cloud. You get the little cloud icon over here. So if we start opening these up, we'll just take a look. So here you can see we've got the hot failover tunnel, and so as we told it to, it's only using the broadband actively right now, and it's got the cellular in standby, ready to take over if the broadband were to fail. The other profiles, we've just got everything in priority 1, so you can see they're both active at the same time. Okay, the first question, what models support SpeedFusion Cloud? I love this question because it's easy. all of our products support SpeedFusion Cloud except for Fusion Hub. Fusion Hub's already in the cloud, so that doesn't connect to SpeedFusion Cloud itself. But you can connect a router to one of your own Fusion Hubs and SpeedFusion Cloud simultaneously if you so choose to. See, another question, can you have more than one cellular connection up simultaneously? I'm assuming that question is referring to a SpeedFusion, either SpeedFusion Cloud or a regular SpeedFusion profile, and the answer is yes, if you have a product that supports bonding. So you need a router that supports SpeedFusion bonding, and again, like I showed in the GUI, you just need to set those cellular connections to the same priority group inside of that SpeedFusion profile. So any connections you link in the same priority group will be bonded together. Another question is asking for a use case for SpeedFusion Cloud. So again, SpeedFusion Cloud is just taking the infrastructure out of people's hands so that you can rapidly deploy SpeedFusion SD-WAN without having to set up the infrastructure side. So there's lots of benefits, right? If you want to protect voice over IP traffic, if you want to get faster uploads to Google Drive or Dropbox. If you're a video streamer and you travel all over the world, you're going to want to connect to different cloud nodes regardless of where you're at, instead of having to set up nodes all around the world. So those are some examples of reasons you might use the SpeedFusion Cloud. But in short, it's just to be able to get the benefits of SpeedFusion without having to set up that remote side of it. It's just automating that whole setup process for you.